What's happening, everyone? And welcome to another edition of Systems Lab Live. This is the April 29th edition. Can you believe that we've been here for 4 straight weeks? We went from the I forgot what it was. It April 1st? Yes, I think it was. I think it was the April Fool's edition. Ha! The April 1st. And now we're here on April 29th. It has almost been a full-fledged month. Tomorrow is the 30th. But I just wanted to say hello, hello. Hope everybody is doing really, really well. Welcome to Systems Lab Live. I'm your host, Ashley Schuler. This is the #1 live stream for project managers and operations professionals. This is what we do here. We talk about managing teams, leading out projects, and developing processes. Okay. And so this is really the #1 spot for training on all things how to manage your projects, on productivity, on the latest technology tools to help get your work done, to help get the task executed. And so I'm excited today for us to be here together. We are live on YouTube, on LinkedIn Live, and on Instagram. What I'd love for you all to do in the comments, please go ahead and put where you're from. What are you working on? What have you been working on this month? And also, too, what are you grateful for? We got to have a bit of gratitude for these 29 days that we are here. And let's just, I'm just going to say it. It's only by God's grace that we're here. I know that for my own self, that it's only by God's grace that I'm here. And so I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about here tonight. We're going to be talking about meeting facilitation and techniques. And so this is really good. We've been on this bit of a kick. If you've been on my LinkedIn or my other social media pages, I've been talking a bit about meetings and how meetings are boring. Meetings can be tragic. Meetings are something that we honestly really can't avoid. I mean, there are some organizations that have meetings. There are those that, meaning they have meetings all the time. There are some that have like the 4-day work week and they have like no meeting Friday. There is a lot of statistics on meetings. There's a lot of statistics on meetings. And so I will pull up a couple of meeting statistics for you all. And as I'm pulling up my little cheat sheet about that, I do want to just remind you all, go ahead, put in the comments where you're from, what you are working on this month. And because I'd love to hear from you guys, what are some of the projects that you're working on? So I think this is really, really important, is that 47% of Americans prefer in-person meetings over virtual ones. I'm going to say this, I'm not going to lie. I think that people are very much tired of Zoom and Microsoft Teams and this pressure of showing up virtually and having to go from meeting to meeting and screen to screen. So what I found out is that when you do go in person for a meeting, when you switch things up, it makes a world of a difference. It makes a world of a difference. Let's see another stat that I'd love to pull up as we are gathering here together, getting ready to dive into today's topic about meeting facilitation. One of the things I think is really, really good. This is really good. I love this stat right here. Okay, let me pull this one up because this is good. Employees spend 392 hours per year in meetings. Can you believe that? And then I have an Instagram post that talks about the 3D strategy for deciding if you need a meeting or not. If you need a meeting or not. What's happening, Shakira? Thank you so much for tuning in. She said we tired. Hey, Ann, how are you doing? What's going on, Robert? So good to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time. Haven't seen you in a good long time. So, all right, everybody. So, yeah, 392 hours. That's a lot. That's just me. Like, that's just a lot of hours. I'm sure, to be quite honest, I probably spend just enough time, just around the same time of meetings, whether it is at work or, outside of work and whatnot. So, there's a lot to be said about it. And so meeting culture, meaning when I say meeting culture, meaning that the way in which we go about how we schedule our meetings, how frequent they are, can be tired, can be taxing, right? And so we've been spending some time in the content talking about, ways that you can decide if you need a meeting or not. Another one is how you can run productive meetings. And so tonight we're going to be talking about meeting facilitation. Meeting facilitation. So I like this because for my project managers and my ops professionals, we are always running something. We're always running something. Somebody got a meeting some way, somehow. And so I think what's really important is that we get into the habit of making our meetings more engaging. So I had a reel today that said your meetings should be joyful, which I do believe so. I believe that too many times we are running these meetings like we are dictators, like we are just running I don't well, I was about to say something else and I don't think it's appropriate, but like we are farming. I'll just say that. I think you guys can connect the dots of what I'm talking about. Like we are farming or something, or that we're pushing the cattle, right? That's what I think that we're doing. That's what I think we're doing a lot of times. It's very one way. It's very, the outcomes are very much we got to get it done. There's no sort of care, right? At the end of the day, everybody's a human being. Everybody's a human being. And I'll tell you this, one of the things we're going to be talking about is how to open up a meeting. But first, I want to talk about two particular phases that we're going to be talking about tonight. So I have a formula on successful meeting facilitation. It's called the prep, the mix, and the action. Okay. So before we get into the meeting techniques, three powerful strategies to run productive meetings. In fact, it's really five, but I don't know if you all, wanted to see five or not. What's happening, Ashley? Good to see you. We're talking about running productive meetings. I'm sure you are running a lot of productive meetings, I can imagine. So, all right, let me grab this app. I'm going to grab this app called Notability, and I would love to know. Here we go. Let's see if we can get the Notability app. Boom. We're going to get that up. And from there, let me grab this other thing here. Oh. Okay. Here we go. We're going to get the Notability app, and we're going to write down some notes here today. Should be able to share with you. If you're on the Instagram, though, Instagram fam, you'll probably need to go ahead and go on YouTube for this particular replay. So I'm going to go with the rule, and let me see. I'll change the color of this. We'll make it blue tonight. But I'm going to walk you through. We're going to talk about successful meeting management. Okay. I'm going to share my screen in just a minute. I'm trying to get the little app out the way. Shout out to Notability. While you're in the comments, tell me some of the pain points that you all have with meetings. I'd love to know that as well. What are some of the pain points that you have with meetings currently? Okay, I think we're good to go. And I shall share thy screen. So if you're gonna, definitely if you catch the replay, go to the YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribing to this. That would be, you can see the notes a little bit better. Okay. Okay, great. I'm going to be right here at the bottom so you guys can see me. So there is a 3-phase formula that I have, and the formula is called the prep, the mix, and action. I don't think any sort of sequential thing. Sometimes my naming conventions are just like, okay. So when we talk about successful meeting and running productive meetings, here's what I want us to think about. Before we even get to facilitating the meeting, I want to talk about the prep work that needs to take place. There is also a separate live stream that I did a while back. I have to see if I can link it for you all in the stories or not, but basically it's how to GSD. And that was done back in, I think it was August 2022. Wow, a long time ago, but it's still pertinent information. So we're going to be talking about the prep. Let's talk about the prep, everybody. So a few things that we should consider, when we talk about the prep. We should talk about, before you even invite anybody to a meeting of sort, you want to write down and you want to have in your mind, what is the purpose? You want to have a purpose and outcomes. Purpose and outcomes. And so you really want to make sure that's clear, especially when you are starting to send out your calendar invites and you're prepping that message to go out to specific team members. You want to make sure that you have that. You want to make sure that's there. That will help inform your agenda, which I think is very important to have. Now, something that I thought that was really, really good was when somebody told me that one of our directors would, if you sent her a calendar invite and there was no agenda attached, she would actually, I think, say tentative and then reply and ask what's on the agenda. So I was like, that was pretty interesting. Like, I had never heard of somebody that was like, that's their rule. That's their rule. And so I believe that, especially when you are working with people's time and people don't have a lot of time and they're crunched for time, you really want to ensure that everybody's time is accounted for, that it's purposeful, and that it's intentional. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking through your outcomes and your objectives and how that's going to inform the agenda. Questions so far about what I'm saying when we're talking about the agenda? The agenda is really the topic, the series of topics that you're talking about. I feel like we know these things, but just in case somebody is, just wondering, like, what's my agenda? Okay, let's see. All right, so who's attending? I just was talking about that. I think it's super critical to make sure that you have the right, or what is it? The essential attendees, right? Who's with me on this? Who has been in a meeting and you didn't know why you were there or why somebody else was invited, right? And I think that's really important to call out to our attention, which is, oftentimes we may just want to invite the whole world, but we don't know why we're inviting people. Sometimes we are, quote unquote, over CCing, in the email where you're just CCing everybody. I'm actually definitely guilty of the over CC, but sometimes I'm like, I think this person needs to know because that person works with that person. They should stay informed. I'm a little bit of that person, but I've gotten so much better over the years. Just include the people that need to be included. I'm a huge fan of having inviting one person, like a one-on-one, or two people. And it's like a mini tripod meeting. If you know what I'm talking about with the tripod, with your phone and camera. It's like a little tripod meeting. Small, it's intimate, and it's sturdy. Hello, somebody. Small, intimate, and sturdy. So definitely have those tripod meetings. Okay. I love that. I feel like I just made that up on the spot. Tripod meetings. Tripod meetings. Total is 3 people, and it's strong and sturdy. Ooh, I need to. Okay. Strong and sturdy. There we go. Strong and sturdy. Okay. So that's what we're working with right now. when we talk about the right attendees. And I have been there as well, where for another example, I remember setting up a meeting and somebody had said to me, "Hey, Ashley, did you reach out to so and so?" Well, so and so was not there. So the answer was no, I did not reach out to so and so. But that's really a good thing to make a note of. Sometimes you may not know who to invite. So you may need to check in to see, all right, who's the right person that we should be inviting. And so I did that the other day where someone was brainstorming and saying, I think we need to have a meeting. Who should we be speaking to about this particular subject? So I went ahead and say, oh, instantly, we need to talk to this team and we need to specifically talk to these two people. So I identified two people and I said, I'll set up the meeting. It's going to be super, super easy. I'll set it up. It's going to be real, real good. So be open to making the switch or making the adjustment. Let me take off my little banner thing, folks. Okay. I don't want it to get in the way. So this is all the prep work, right? This is all of the prep work. And so this is really good. How do people feel about the prep work so far? Are these things that you're already doing? So number 4 is technology. Quiet as it's kept, people, and I don't know if it's really quiet, but one thing that we should really focus in on is the fact that technology is here to help and enhance our work. It is here to make sure that things are streamlined. And I know that oftentimes, if you do not introduce the right technology at the right time, it's overwhelming to just say, hey, we're just going to start using Microsoft OneNote for note taking. Absolutely not. So one of the things that I do for a routine 30-minute sprint, and it's not really a sprint because I used to set up like 15-minute meetings and they were actually really perfect, if to be quite honest. They were 15 minutes, we got in, we got out, but we started to say we have more stuff to talk about. So we just had made a Monday and Wednesday sync and a Thursday like fuller team meeting. But technology is really here to help us to capture the right information. And I'm talking about meeting notes right now. So, and that could just be also that'll be another type of live stream too, where we talk all about meeting notes and action items. It'll be fantastic. So, when we talk about the technology piece, one thing that I noticed being a part of a team is that we set up a process. We would have Microsoft Word, an agenda. The agenda would be attached to the calendar invite. Then they would be typed up. We would type up the notes. We would send them out. We would have a lot of attachments. We would have them buried in a SharePoint folder by date, and it was very cumbersome. The whole experience was very, very cumbersome. So, in an effort to have more collaboration, here's what I did. I said, okay, I believe that we can be more efficient in how we are capturing and sharing our information. Let's move over to Microsoft OneNote. Now, whenever you're introducing new technology, you want to be very clear on the purpose. You want to be very clear on the instructions of how this is going to work, meaning lay out the case study, and B, it has to be a smooth transition. It just has to be a smooth transition as much as possible. You're not going to be perfect. So I think I would love in the comments for you to talk to me about what technology are you utilizing right now? What y'all what y'all using right now in terms when it comes to the meeting facilitation piece? I'd like to know. Tell me. Are you using ClickUp? Are you using Notion? Are you using Google Docs? I just mentioned Microsoft OneNote. What's great about the OneNote is that you can create, what do they call them? Notebooks. Hello. You can create notebooks, and then inside the notebooks are different, what do you call they're like tabs. They're like tabs, almost like colored tabs. So there are tabs where you can name them. And so there's one that is on all that has all meetings. And then we have a template. We created a template, and you can literally just copy and paste the template, open up a fresh OneNote page, copy and paste that, and then do a call for agenda items. So that's what one of our team members does every week on a Wednesday, and sends an email out. If you have any agenda items, let me know. And we reply back, and that person just puts the agenda items in the slotted template. It makes the work super duper easy to do, and you're not overwhelmed. You send the agenda item out, you send the link out, the OneNote out, and people can add to it. So I've done that plenty of times where I'm like, oh yeah, there's one thing I want to talk about. Let me go ahead and put it in real time inside of the OneNote. So that's super duper easy. So because I just talked about, what we would do in terms of the technology piece, I do want to talk about format. I think format is good. I think it's where we talk about how long a meeting will be. We'll also talk about how you're going to format the agenda. Like, where are you going to put certain agenda topics? What's top heavy? What's easy? What's a really tense topic? Maybe you don't have a lot of agenda topics if you have a really heavy topic that you're going to talk about. And I think you need to know your people, know thy people, know your team members to know what's what. So this is all the prep work, but this is so important to get the facilitation of the meeting where it needs to be. And by design, right? Because you, as a project leader, project professional, ops person, you have your own swag, you got your own flavorings of what you're looking to do. And so I just think that this prep work process is instrumental, instrumental to what you're doing. Questions that people have so far, I just want to make sure that, yeah, like I said, we're on the same page. We are on the same page. So I appreciate you all just being on this live stream tonight and participating, asking the questions. So we will go on to my favorite, and let me see. Just trying to get the right color, folks. Okay. All right. So we're going to get into this next topic, which is the mix. The mix is phase 2. So I'm going to put a 1 up here. 1 is the prep work, and 2 is the mix. All right. So when we talk about the mix, I just really like the mix because, and I don't know if there's really a rational, thought process, about this, but in my mind, I'm like, let's talk about the mix. Like, this is where I feel like you get down into business, right? You get down to business talking about the mix, okay? And so this is where the action takes place. Like, let's mix it up. Like, let's do something. So when we talk about the mix, we're really talking about the meeting facilitation. Okay, so y'all, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the good stuff. So a couple things to keep in mind for meeting facilitation is you have already prepared the agenda, you sent out the calendar invites. That's just half the battle, is sending it out and making sure that people are present and accounted for. So with that said, here's the question. How are you going to lead? So how are you going to lead? I think this is a good question. How do you lead meetings? So we just talked about how people are overworked, how people are burnt out. And so the last thing that people want to do is be in a part of a meeting that is dry, like crusty bread, or like spoiled milk. Sorry for the smell and the visualization of that. But I think it's super important that we understand that you play a huge role, you meaning the project leader, you play a huge role in the meeting facilitation and what takes place. So, what do we do about it? What do we do about that? I'm just so incredibly excited that you asked that question of like what is it that we do? So I think one thing that you'll want to do is as you're even thinking about the attendees, and again, this is a little bit more intentional. I'm not saying this happens to happen, this needs to happen every time, but knowing who is a part of the meeting helps you to prep for the types of questions that you're going to ask and also how you're going to engage and interact with people. And so I would, if you know who's coming ahead of time, which you should, you can be sure to say, all right, well, being that I know who's coming, then I can know I can ask this question, maybe even about what's happening within their family. There's nothing like just being a little bit personable. So I say that to say about asking about somebody's graduation or how their daughter's doing or how the dog's doing. This is really about breaking the ice. Excuse me. So I would absolutely, this is what I would do, people. I would try to think of a way to either have an icebreaker for a meeting or somehow you break the ice. And I think that's good. I actually had three particular invitations one time, and it was to go to one was to lunch and one was to, do these different types of things. And so when we talk about breaking the ice, you can share a fun fact about yourself and your life. What's going on, Winifred? Good to see you. Really good to see you. And so when we talk about breaking the ice and people remembering certain details about maybe what you said, you can go and recall them. So whether it's a formal icebreaker or you're just breaking the ice by saying, "Hey, so and so, I remember you had three particular invitations within the same week, within the same weekend, within the same afternoon. Did you make any of them?" That can be something that can really brighten someone's day and get other people listening and involved. So don't overlook meeting facilitation when it comes to this aspect of the icebreaker. Don't overlook the icebreaker. That's when you can really start to connect with people. And this is what I truly believe, especially in the doggy dog world, the in these streets of doing the work every single day. You need allies, you need people that are going to be assets. You got to get people who are going to be on the same page as you, trying to make it work. So why not be able to listen to those smaller details and then also genuinely care about folks so that you can collaborate better? There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Anybody in the comments are utilizing the icebreaker, whether it is a formal icebreaker or whether you are just asking a question to somebody and that's just helping to quote unquote break the ice. T Nawa, anything that you have to add? Love to hear from you as well. Love to hear from you as well. So listen, as I was drinking this, okay, I tell you what, the ice was icing, people. So the ice was icing. So something I think we all should really look into and lean into is that when we are preparing the agenda, there should be a time limit for each topic. Why? Because I've been there time and time again, people, time and time again, where you are looking at your clock, your watch, and saying, oh gosh, we've been on this topic for about 15 minutes and we got four other agenda items. So this is why the due diligence of the meeting agenda is so important. You got to do your diligence. So when you set the meeting topic, there's going to be time limits. You may have to do a little ear hustling, people. You may have to do it. Excuse me, everybody. Ear hustling, meaning that you may have to do it do some ear hustling to listen for a break. Listen for a break in which you can say, "Hey, listen up. I think we're going to have to move on to the next topic." All right? You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid, of the ear hustling. It's oh so necessary. Okay? It's oh so necessary. So another thing to think through too is leaving room for creativity and questions. I think that is something that is missing a lot. We don't do it enough where we allow people to breathe. We allow people to breathe and we allow people to be able to say, let me think about it, even if it is something that they've heard for the first time, or maybe they've heard about it for the fifth time. And they just want to just take a step back. So I think that's important for us to realize and understand is that we are gonna need to intentionally be able to leave room for creativity and questions. I'm writing this one down so y'all know. That's it. That's what y'all got to do. Let the creativity flow. Let it flow. It's going to be really important for you to let it flow. You don't know what's behind. You don't know what's behind a particular statement or a particular craft or a project or conversation. So allowing the room for creativity and questions to be asked, I believe is always and truly always will be something that will define in a positive way the outcomes of these meetings. And just to put a little side note, because I know we talked a little bit last week about purpose of meetings and and these types of things. I think it's really important that we underscore the point that when we do meet and come together, we need to make sure it's intentional. The pandemic has certainly changed the way, and now we're back into steady state, as I like to call it, where we are steadily on the same course and we are just moving at the pace. And so, in this digital world where sometimes it's fast moving, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's medium, sometimes a project will be that and then a little peak and then back again. Meetings are for being productive. Meetings are essential to the project work. There's no way of getting around that. I want to write that down. Meetings are essential. Okay. Meetings are essential to project work. We're not going to get around no meetings. Now, what we can do is take the 3D strategy powered by Slack to determine what meetings we need to have, when, and why. Who's loving this? I'll take a little pause in the comments. Anybody have anything that they want to say? Let me know. Let me know. I do want to talk about this aspect of reaching consensus as making decisions. So I think this is really good about reaching consensus. We may not necessarily always have to be in a meeting where you're going to need to have consensus all the time, but it would be nice to be able to ensure that there is some way one can move forward, especially if there's a little bit of a disagreement. But there's nothing wrong with a good old healthy debate. I'm here for healthy debate. So when I talk about reaching consensus, I'm meaning, have we reached a decision that most of the team members make that we can go and literally ship off the decision to get to the next level? So reaching consensus is necessary all the time, all day or a day. And so last but not least, oh, well, no, capturing notes. That will actually be for last time. But some more things that we need to be thinking through when it comes to meeting facilitation is making sure that everybody's voices are heard. So you're going to have to really be tuned into your team members. Who's not speaking, who's a little cagey, who's a little bit too talkative, who's a bit lackadaisical about it. You want to just make sure that you're covering everything when it comes to the emotions and how people are showing up to meetings. You never know what's influencing somebody's decision. So you do want to make sure that you're conscious of how you come off and conscious of how you're speaking to others. And so when it comes down to debating, when it comes down to heavy amounts of conversation and reaching consensus, you always want to be in a posture where A, you're serving, and B, you know how to get the outcome out, regardless if it is through a vehicle of yours or another type of vehicle. You never know. But it's very, very important. So I hope that makes sense about the reaching consensus piece, especially when we're on the frame of mind of really making good, productive meetings. Okay. So reaching consensus, which is for me, totally fine. Totally, totally fine. So yeah. Any questions that people have so far when it comes to meeting facilitation? Yeah, we're just talking through, C and D, leaving room for creativity. That's going to be really, excuse me, that's going to be really important to the project work. Creativity with solutions and questions. And when we talk about the technology component, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Knowing that that you're going to need Miro to do some meeting facilitation, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the action piece of it. But there are some ways where you can collectively bring people together to be able to vote on topics. Excuse me. Shout out to Coda for that. And begin to add meeting information inside of that, like context to the agenda, which to me is super good. Now, I remember, I think it was Google or another company that they would have these they call two-way syncs. And it's really for big wig companies, or really any company could do this, but they're implementing this particular program of the No Meeting Friday, and then they have a 2-page document that essentially summarizes what is being proposed, and that information is then sent out for review. And so when you get to the meeting, all you're doing is really discussing and looking to move forward to reach consensus. I mean, I was blown away reading that article. I think that is super, super powerful. That's really that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So those are really what I would consider. I mean, it's really like 5 or 4 to 5. I give like a good 5 of, how are you leading up meetings? I would always say this, always say the DISC assessment, not always, but I think a personal development assessment, Colby, you can definitely do strength finders. Love a good strength finders discussion. You won't have anyone complain about strength finders. Love it. Absolutely. And I think that it's very, very important. And so once you know thyself, you can know your working style, and you can begin to say, okay, this is where I want to go. This is how I want to approach this meeting. This is how I want to approach this individual. And so, one scenario we did not talk about is the one that disrupts, the one that gets on people's nerves. What do you do with that person? And so I'm a firm believer in meeting people where they're at, understanding the goals that they have in place, and ensuring that you can triage a particular subject so that it does not get out of hand. So that's just another pro tip. Okay, everyone. I think we've done a lot tonight. Have we? I think we have done much. So I will, I'm gonna put the iPad back up. I will stop my share. I'm gonna stop sharing. You all, this has been a spectacular night. I hope that you all have learned a bit about some of the powerful strategies. It's more than 3. I know that I counted more than 3. And so reach out to me if you have any type of questions. I, of course, have I believe a meeting management guide in the Next Gen Digital PM guide that I am selling. So it's a digital shop. So you can go to the website, ashleyschuler.com. It'll say digital shop. Click on Next Gen Digital PM, and you can get this whole playbook, and it includes the meeting management template and tutorial. But in the meantime, in between time, I look forward to seeing you all in the DMs. And then also next week, where we'll be kicking off May. And it's gonna be May. I love that. And we're going to be talking through a new topic, and I can't wait to announce it. So thank you all so much, and have a good night. Bye.